What's good, Fight Forever fans? Welcome back to the channel. God bless. Thank you for rocking with your boy. So in this one, we're going to be talking about the most recent gameplay drops. I'm going to share my thoughts on the news regarding the Creation Suite. And then we're going to jump into some of the post-launch upgrades I'm hoping to see from THQ regarding AEW Fight Forever. So with that being said, Fight Forever fans, let's work. The first match that we're going to take a look at comes from Johnny. Shout out to the entire New Legacy crew, man. Those dudes are goated. They make amazing and hilarious content. I want to put that out there first and foremost. But in this one, we got Johnny, and I guess we probably should call him like the face of the AEW Fight Forever community, Mr. Evil Uno. They decided to mix it up in a ladder match. Overall, the match was pretty decent. However, I feel like it's kind of hard to gauge because we didn't really get to see a lot. Especially not in the terms of showing us everything that this match had to offer. I would have loved to have seen some more of the ladder functionality. Like, I honestly don't think in any of the ladder match footage, like this match or like the actual ladder match trailer, did they show any top of the ladder grapples. That was kind of odd and a little bit concerning, to be honest. I mean, because I can't imagine that ladder grapples aren't in the game, right? I mean, surely they have to be in some form or another. Because we have top of the ladder diving finishers, which is amazing, by the way. I will give them credit for that. Overall, like I said, I just would have liked to have seen a little bit more from this match. A little more functionality. Like, can we set the ladder in the corner? I did see some old footage of, like, I think the ladder helicopter thing, which was also pretty cool. And also, I don't know if you guys remember the old picture of, I think they showed Hangman, like, powerbombing Mox, I think, onto the ladder. But we didn't really see any of those interactions in this match. I'm not sure if they're still at the point where they're telling Evil Uno there are certain things that he still can't show. I honestly don't know, but I mean, it just seems a bit odd at this point. And this isn't exactly ladder match specific, but I do like the difference in speed between Big Show or Paul White, whatever you want to call him, and John Silver. Paul is noticeably a lot slower than Silver, and he even grapples slower from what it seems like. It's a cool attention to detail, and I just want to see how much it's going to affect the strategies of those playing with like a Paul White versus a much faster character like a Rey Fenix. The climbing minigame is a unique touch, actually having to tap the button to climb rung by rung. I mean, that's something different. They also kept it pretty basic and simple when it comes to unhooking the chip from the top of the ladder. It's a pretty basic button mashing minigame, which falls in line with a lot of their win criteria, as we have to button mash to escape pinfalls and submissions as well. Personally, I don't have a problem with button mashing, but there is an issue that nobody has seemed to address yet, and we're going to talk about it a little later on in the video. And while we're on the subject of button mashing, we got a good look at the weight detection as we see John Silver trying to lift Paul White, only to struggle and fail at the attempt. Seeing as how this game is influenced by the Aki games of old, I wonder if they're going to take the same approach to weight detection by allowing smaller players to lift larger players by button mashing if their spirit is high enough. I think this would be a cool Easter egg style feature for them to add into the game. Now, I hope you guys didn't think we were just going to slide by and not address some of the ugly that we've seen in this match. There's definitely some kind of weird dysfunction going on with the weapon mechanics in this game. Tables appear to be the main culprit. The first sign was in CM Pulse's weapon video that he posted, and now seeing them in this match all but confirms it. As you can see, Evil Uno and Johnny had a hard time trying to set up a ladder and a table at the same time in the ring. It got so bad to the point that it even caused the game to glitch. Now, I'm not here to step on their neck because of a glitch, but it should not be that hard to set up a ladder and a table in the ring. Hopefully they use these playtests as a means of quality control. That way they can go back and kind of see what they need to fine tune. Up next, we got a video from the Savage One, Macho T, featuring none other than the man with the tan in the band, known as Vibe, Mr. BDE. And we just gonna put this out here first and foremost. This by far was the best gameplay in terms of skill and actually knowing how to play the game that I've seen so far. Some solid back and forth, just good overall quality matches. Not to mention that these matches definitely had their fair share of pretty cool spots. Mox's anti-air skill was easily one of the highlights of the first match, as he kept turning Pac's high-flying offense against him by catching him mid-air and rewarding him with a running power slam for his efforts. However, I do wonder if there's going to be any variety to this skill, because as we see in the both times that he did actually manage to catch Pac, it resulted in the same running power slam. So again, I just wonder if there's going to be any variety, and if so, what's going to be the determining factor of how moves are countered. We also got confirmation on how to perform outside dives. As Brandon was explaining in the video, you have to hit a combination of buttons. They were playing on Xbox, so I'm pretty sure he said it's X and A or Y and B respectively to perform dives. Now, I don't know if that gives you different dives depending on which button combination you press. If somebody can confirm, go ahead and let us know down in the comments. And even though we already kind of talked about this, I'm just going to go ahead and reiterate, man, I absolutely love the interactions between wrestlers and prone weapons. Like, it is so refreshing to actually see wrestlers sail landing on weapons. But like I said in the beginning, this was a pretty dope match, especially in terms of competitive gameplay. However, to keep it all the way solid in terms of the ladder match, that's a bit of a low point so far. From what we've seen in these videos, ladder matches really aren't all that impressive. For all we know, that might change in the future. Maybe they haven't revealed everything to us, but for right now, from what we've seen so far, that's all I can go on. In the next match, we got ourselves a three-way, and they actually decided to invite Murph to the party. This match was fantastic, man. A lot of excitement, drama, some cool spots. And the crazy thing is, it was all CPU. That's impressive, and it's definitely a bright spot, because that was one of the things that I personally was kind of worried about, like as to how well the CPU was going to perform. But they were cooking, man. They were really cooking in this match. So to reiterate, man, like I said, probably some of the best gameplay I've seen so far. Now, I do get that it was not raw footage. I mean, because as you saw, there were a lot of jump cuts, but there was definitely enough positive in there to highlight some of the cool aspects of gameplay. Now we're going to switch gears and address the Creation Suite issues. So apparently the Creation Suite is somewhat underwhelming. And to keep it solid, while I wasn't expecting anything too crazy, I was at least hoping that we'd be able to just jump into Creation Suite and create some pretty decent calls right off the bat. But from the sound of things, that might not be possible, at least not at the beginning. Because what I'm understanding is that we'll have to unlock a lot of things through the road to Elite. Things like different attires and probably clothing and hairstyles are probably going to be locked behind this mode. And personally, I don't mind so much grinding a mode, especially if the replay value is going to be decent. But I do understand the other side though. Which brings me to post-launch support and what I'm personally hoping to see from THQ regarding their future plans in supporting this game. Since it is already fresh on our minds, man, I'm going to go ahead and get this one out the way. They have got to figure out a way to deliver a deeper experience with their created wrestler feature. And this needs to happen ASAP. I would like to see it maybe come in the form of adding more parts and maybe even some features like body and facial morphing. In a perfect world, I would love for them to have their own iteration of community creations. I'm not entirely sure how realistic of an ask this might be, but at least it's worth mentioning. The second thing that may need to be addressed, and it is something that I haven't heard them say anything about, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but accessibility is a possible concern. As we mentioned before, this game goes pretty heavy on the button mashing. I mean, you have to button mash to escape pinfalls, you have to button mash for submissions, not to mention you have to button mash for the ladder minigame. And I'm also not sure if any of the other minigames require you to button mash. For some gamers, this might present a huge problem because everybody's not able to button mash. So I don't know if they're going to have options in place for that kind of situation. But if not, that is something that they definitely have to look into. On a more fun note, this is probably one of those features that have been highly requested amongst the fan base, myself included. And that's going to be create a finisher. I know this is probably a huge ask, and in a perfect world, this feature would grant us the opportunity to create finishers from scratch, completely from the ground up, get it out the mud. But seeing as how it is such a tall task, I wouldn't mind if it started off at the base level and just allowed us to maybe tweak some of the in-game moves by maybe allowing us to add a strike or taunt before the move, or maybe pick out our own pin combinations. Basically just tweak some minor things here and there to make the moves feel more personalized. I think that would be good for a start. From there, they could continue to build on it until it's finally its own fully fleshed out feature. Another feature I've been wanting to see: advanced submission mechanics. The last time we actually got decent, legit, professional wrestling submission mechanics was actually back in the THQ Uke SmackDown days. Seeing as how the band is somewhat back together, I would have loved to have seen them put some effort into this. I get that the game was slated to resemble WWF No Mercy more than the SmackDown series, but even No Mercy allowed you to kind of magically slither towards the ropes in the hopes of getting that rope break. So it's a little bit disappointing to see that this game decided to go with the escape or tap formula that seems to be prevalent in all wrestling games of late. This is one of those things where I honestly don't feel like it's too big of an ask. I mean, especially considering that they went with the more handcrafted animations, I think they could really make this work and give us at least some semblance of a legit professional wrestling submission system. You know, maybe a decent crawling mechanic and some legit rope break animations. So fingers crossed. Moving on to another fan favorite is going to be match types. I would love to see them implement the likes of casket matches, dog collar matches, and most notable, trios matches. I'm really shocked that this one did not make it into the game. Trios is one of the standout staples of AEW, so that not being showcased in the game is kind of odd. Now I get it, maybe there were some technical limitations, maybe even time constraints, and also given the fact that the roster isn't exactly where it needs to be in order to support trios, this is something that I hope that they will be able to get in on a later date. Because like I said, it is a standout staple of AEW. So again, fingers crossed. Fight Forever fans, check in down in the comments. Where are those excitement levels after hearing about the created wrestler situation? Are you guys still on board, or are you ready to abandon ship? And what post-launch support are you hoping to see from THQ in terms of additional features and add-ons? I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say. Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up and subscribe on your way out, man. It really helps out the channel. As always, be a blessing to somebody. God bless.